Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Dan here, BladeReviews.com, taking a look at two awesome EDC knives from Spyderco. Perhaps two of my favorite EDC designs from any company. I'm talking about the Sage 1 and the Caly 3. Both in carbon fiber, both beautiful knives. Perhaps one question that I see asked most often is, what's your favorite, the Caly 3 or the Sage 1? Guys, let me tell you right now, that is not an easy question to answer. I'm sure everybody has their preference, but today, since I have both knives in front of you, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about mine. But before we do that, let's just run through these two knives and try and determine where their differences are. And I'll tell you, there's not a ton, but they're definitely there, especially if you're a knife aficionado, and you probably are if you're watching this video. So, first of all, the Sage 1's made in Taiwan. The Caly 3 is made in Japan. Both Asian-produced knives. Not a big difference to me. I think in terms of the overall fit and finish, both are very high. I might give the slight nod to, honestly, I'm going with the Caly 3 on this. I just love the way they finish this one. Anyhow, I'm starting to get off track here. So, this one's from Taiwan, the other one's from Japan. Let's look at the blade shapes. Very similar. Very, very similar. You know, you got the Sage 1 here's got a wider blade, and they're both leaf-shaped. They both have the full flat grind. They both have a nice big honking spider hole in them. Very nice. They both have big thumb ramps and jimped choils for similar two-finger kind of use. And they're both actually the same size too. The blade shapes are right at 3 inches. You know, they might be off by a hair or something, but they're pretty close. Okay, so the blades are pretty similar. Oh, I guess one huge difference is the Caly 3 is a laminated steel. It's got a ZDP 189 core and 420J2 outside pieces. I guess bread, if you're talking about a sandwich. The meat is ZDP 189 and the bread's 420. Whereas the Sage here is a single steel, but that steel's S30V, which is a pretty nice steel. And they're both, you know, great steels. So, moving on to the handle, you can tell they're both ergonomically designed carbon fiber handles. One major difference is that the Sage 1 has kind of a quilted feel to it. It's got a lot more texture. Well, I wouldn't say a lot, since they're both relatively smooth in hand, but this definitely has texture on it, while the Caly 3 doesn't. It's a smooth, finished carbon fiber. And also another big difference, one that people don't like with the Caly 3, is that it is pinned together. And the Sage, as you can see, is bolted together with 3 Torx bolts holding the entire knife together. But the handle design, similar. Again, the Sage 1's a little bit chunkier. It's a thicker handle, no doubt. Also, you have the different locking mechanisms, so that's going to change the knives quite a bit. Let's see if we can't get a better view of this. The Sage 1 on the top, it's got that flow-through pillar construction, which I love for all-out utility and ease of cleaning. The Caly 3 here has got a full steel backspacer here because it's a lockback, of course, and it requires that in order to operate. We've got a liner lock for the Sage 1, so it's different. And both these locks are really strong. This Sage 1 came pretty tight from the factory. The lockup is real solid on this. If you've seen my my Caly 3 review, you know this lock is solid. It's one of the strongest locks I've seen on a little knife like this. So let's take a look at the pocket clip, since that's another feature people are often interested in when comparing knives, myself included. And as you can see here, there's really not much of a difference except for the fact that the Sage 1, the pocket clip is a dark anodized black, and the the Caly 3 is more of a coppery kind of color. So that would be almost completely a matter of personal preference. In fact, it's entirely a matter of personal preference. For me, I'd be happy with either one. I think it gives the Caly 3 a little character, just personally. But this is a super functional, all black clip. I mean, you can't go wrong. Can't go wrong. So, which one do I like more? Guys, that's a tough question. I don't know if I could really answer it, so I'm just going to try and dodge the question a little bit by saying, if I wanted a user knife, one that I would take with me every day and not be afraid to use, it's got to be the Sage 1. I just like that liner lock. It's a faster deployment, it's something I'm used to. And also, just the way this knife is finished, it's not quite as mirror polished with the blade. It's a little bit different, it's a little more utilitarian. This Caly 3 is just such a showpiece. It's a beautiful knife. And I almost don't feel right using this one hard, or even, reasonably as an EDC knife. I prefer to keep this in the collection. Maybe this is one I'll pass on someday. More likely I'll have to pawn it or something when I get fired. Who knows? Anyhow, I'm keeping this one. It's a beautiful knife. And I'm going to keep the Sage 1 too, but if it gets some scratches on it, if it gets used, that's what it's there for. It's a knife that I've decided that I'm going to use and enjoy as a everyday tool. A very nice one at that. So I guess in sum, this is my user, or the one I would pick as a user, the Sage 1, and the Caly 3. Beautiful, classy, collectible. This is a safe queen for me. Anyhow, they're both awesome knives. If you're trying to decide between the two, you really can't go wrong. What do you like more? Do you like backlocks, or, it's almost just stupid even thinking about it, But get them both if you can. Get them both. That's the best answer. Either way, you're going to get an awesome knife. So that's my take on it. Dan from Blade Reviews, whatever that's worth. So anyhow, I hope you guys enjoy the video, and thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.